The studio of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert hums with anticipation, the audience settling into their seats as the house band plays a lively jazz intro, their instruments filling the air with a vibrant energy. The stage is bathed in warm light, the iconic cityscape backdrop twinkling with the glow of a distant skyline, its blues and purples casting a dreamy atmosphere over the set. Stephen Colbert, impeccably dressed in a tailored navy suit with a crisp white shirt and a striped tie in shades of blue and gray, adjusts his glasses and flashes a wide, mischievous grin at the camera. He's in his element, a master of late-night television, his sharp wit and boundless curiosity ready to entertain the crowd. Behind his desk, a mug of coffee steams gently, a prop he often uses to punctuate his jokes with a well-timed sip. The audience is buzzing, their excitement palpable as Stephen introduces tonight's guest. Ladies and gentlemen, he's the star of The Matrix, the unstoppable force of John Wick, and the most excellent dude of Bill and Ted. Please welcome Keanu Reeves. Stephen announces, his voice rising with enthusiasm as the crowd erupts into thunderous applause. Keanu Reeves steps onto the stage, his presence both commanding and understated, a paradox that has defined his career. He's dressed in a sleek black suit, the fabric hugging his frame in a way that mirrors the intensity of his on-screen personas, yet his posture is relaxed, almost shy. His long, dark hair falls just past his shoulders, framing his face, and a neatly trimmed beard adds a rugged edge to his look. He waves modestly to the audience, his lips curling into a small, genuine smile as he takes his seat across from Stephen. The desk between them is a symbolic barrier, but it's clear from the outset that Keanu's quiet authenticity will challenge Stephen's usual playful control. The audience settles down, their cheers fading into an eager silence as the interview begins. Stephen leans forward, his hands clasped on the desk, his eyes twinkling with mischief. Keanu Reeves, everybody. The man, the myth, the legend, he exclaims, prompting another wave of applause. Keanu nods in acknowledgement, his hands resting loosely in his lap, his demeanor calm and grounded. Stephen dives right in, his tone light and conversational. So, Keanu, let's talk about your latest projects. John Wick, Chapter 3, more dogs, more guns, more Keanu being a total badass. I mean, how do you keep upping the ante on this? Are you just, like, secretly a ninja in real life? Stephen asks, his voice brimming with enthusiasm as he gestures animatedly. The audience chuckles, and Keanu lets out a soft laugh, his deep voice resonating through the studio. No ninja here, man. It's all about the team. The stunt coordinators, the directors, the whole crew. They push me to bring more to John Wick each time. And, you know, I just try to honor the character, he replies, his sincerity shining through. The audience claps, their admiration for his humility evident in their warm response. Stephen nods, his grin widening as he shifts gears. I love that. But let's pivot to something a little more excellent, he says, drawing out the word with a playful nod to Keanu's past role. Bill and Ted Face the Music, you're back with Alex Winter, trying to write a song to save the universe. That's a lot of pressure for two guys who once thought Wild Stallings was a good band name, Stephen quips, his eyebrows raised as he leans back in his chair. The crowd laughs heartily, the reference to the quirky 80s comedy hitting a nostalgic chord. Keanu's eyes light up with a rare spark of joy, a wide grin breaking across his face as he leans forward slightly. Yeah, it's been a wild ride. Bill and Ted are still the same dudes, just older, trying to figure out their place in the world, and the universe, apparently, he says, his tone warm with affection for the characters. He pauses, then adds with a chuckle, we've had a lot of fun bringing them back. It's like stepping into a time machine ourselves. The audience laughs along with him, charmed by his genuine enthusiasm. Stephen crosses his arms, his expression turning mock serious as he sets up his next line of questioning. So, in this movie, you're facing your own mortality, the mortality of all existence. Pretty heavy stuff for a comedy, don't you think, he says, his voice dropping into a dramatic tone as he leans forward again, resting his elbows on the desk. The audience senses the shift, their laughter fading into a curious murmur as they wait for Keanu's response. Keanu nods thoughtfully, his fingers brushing against his chin as he considers the question. Yeah, it's definitely heavier than the first two films. But I think that's what makes it resonate. Bill and Ted are dealing with real stakes now, not just passing a history exam, he says, his voice steady and reflective. The crowd murmurs in agreement, appreciating the deeper layer Keanu has brought to the conversation. Steven seizes the moment, his grin turning mischievous as he prepares to deliver his bombshell question. He leans forward even further, his eyes locked on Keanu, his tone dripping with playful challenge. So, you're facing your own mortality and the mortality of all existence. Wow, he says, pausing for dramatic effect as the audience leans in, sensing a punchline. What do you think happens when we die, Keanu Reeves? Steven asks, his voice rising with a theatrical flair as he points a finger at Keanu, expecting a light-hearted deflection or a humorous quip to match his energy. The audience bursts into laughter, their hands clapping in anticipation of a witty comeback. But Keanu doesn't play along. He sits back slightly, his expression softening as he takes a slow, deliberate breath, his eyes dropping to the desk for a moment before locking onto Steven's. The studio falls silent, the air growing heavy with tension as the audience senses something profound is about to happen. Steven's grin wavers, his hand freezing mid-gesture as he realizes Keanu isn't going to give him the easy out he expected. Keanu's gaze is steady, his eyes carrying a depth that speaks of years of personal loss and introspection. I know that the ones who love us will miss us, he says softly, his voice low and steady, each word landing like a stone in still water. The audience gasps, a collective intake of breath that ripples through the room, their laughter replaced by stunned silence. Some clutch their chests, others lean forward in their seats, their eyes wide as the weight of Keanu's response settles over them. Steven's jaw tightens, his eyes widening behind his glasses as the depth of Keanu's words hits him like a tidal wave. His hand drops to the desk, his usual quick wit failing him as he processes the raw honesty of the moment. The crowd is still reeling, some whispering to their neighbors, others wiping tears from their eyes as they grapple with the emotional impact of Keanu's answer. Steven, caught completely off guard, forces a nervous chuckle, his fingers fumbling with his tie as he tries to regain his footing. Wow, that's a lot deeper than I was expecting, he says, his voice cracking slightly as he adjusts his glasses. The audience murmurs in agreement, their gasps turning to soft applause as they begin to process the moment. Steven, unwilling to let the interview slip entirely out of his control, presses on, his tone a mix of curiosity and defiance. Okay, but, what do you think is on the other side? For you, personally. I mean, come on, give me something, he says, his voice tinged with a hint of challenge as he leans forward again, his eyes searching Keanu's face for a crack in his stoic demeanor. Keanu tilts his head slightly, his gaze never wavering, his expression a blend of melancholy and wisdom that only deepens the tension in the room. He takes another slow breath, his fingers brushing against the armrest of his chair as he considers his response. I don't know, man. I think it's a mystery, he replies, his voice carrying the weight of someone who's faced profound loss, lost loves, lost siblings, lost friends. The audience gasps again, louder this time, some standing as they process the gravity of his words. A woman in the front row clutches her friend's arm, her eyes glistening with tears, while a man in the back row lets out a quiet, wow, his voice barely audible over the collective reaction. Steven's attempt at humor has been thoroughly dismantled, and he knows it. His shoulders slump slightly, his hands gesturing helplessly as he tries to find a way to pivot. The crowd erupts into applause, a wave of admiration washing over the studio as they rise to their feet, their claps echoing off the walls. Steven, now visibly flustered, raises his hands in a half-hearted attempt to regain control, his laugh strained as he looks out at the audience. Well, that's really deep, Keanu. I mean, I was hoping for, I'll be surfing on a cloud with Keanu, but you've gone full philosopher on me, he says, his voice tinged with a mix of awe and frustration. Keanu offers a small, sad smile, his humility only amplifying the impact of his words. The audience is still clapping, some shouting words of encouragement, others wiping tears from their eyes as they're moved by the raw honesty of the moment. Steven, sensing he's losing the upper hand, tries one last jab to lighten the mood. So, no heavenly pizza parties for you? No celestial John Wick action sequences? Come on, give me something fun, he quips, his voice tinged with desperation as he leans back in his chair, hoping to reclaim the playful tone of the interview. But Keanu is unfazed, his response swift and disarming. He leans forward slightly, his hands clasped together, his eyes locking onto Steven's with an intensity that silences the room once more. Maybe. But I think it's more about the love we leave behind, he says, his tone firm yet gentle, as if he's speaking directly to every person in the room. The audience leaps to their feet again, the applause deafening now, a standing ovation that shakes the studio to its core. Some in the crowd are openly crying, others chanting Keanu's name, their voices a chorus of admiration and respect. Steven, his composure fully shattered, throws his hands up in mock surrender, laughing despite himself as he shakes his head in disbelief. Okay, you win, Keanu. You've destroyed me. I'm done. He exclaims, his voice cracking with a mix of admiration and defeat. He stands, walking around the desk to shake Keanu's hand, his expression a mix of awe and respect as the crowd continues to roar. Keanu rises to meet him, his movements graceful and unhurried, his hands pressing together in a gesture of gratitude as he bows slightly to the audience. The house band strikes up a triumphant tune, their brass section swelling with a victorious melody that matches the energy of the moment. Steven claps along with the crowd, his usual bravado replaced by a genuine appreciation for the man standing beside him. The segment ends with the audience still on their feet, their cheers echoing through the studio as the camera pans across their faces, some beaming with pride, others still wiping away tears. Keanu has turned a simple late-night interview into a moment of profound connection, his quiet dignity and heartfelt words leaving an indelible mark on everyone present, proving that sometimes the deepest answers come from the most unexpected places.